Hello, my name is Lamerck, and welcome to the Naval Sports League. For our first time watchers, the Naval Sports League, or NSL, is the ultimate naval competition in the game of holdfast nations at war. League battles are simple. Two teams, each led by a single admiral, pilot five large capital ships and two small support boats, with the goal of sinking as many capital ships as they can within 35 minutes. Whoever sinks the most wins, and if there's a tie, we decide the winner by overall score. Teams consist of anywhere between 20 to 40 players, and the league provides mercenaries to balance out any number disparities between the teams. Every player in the league, be they a team player or a mercenary, is competing hard for end of season awards and accolades. Every battle will take place on a randomly chosen map, with randomly chosen wind direction. Both of these factors mean that no two battles will ever be the same. The league lasts for 9 months, from late February to November, with 3 games a month or more for you to enjoy. Once that main season is over, the top three teams of the league will duke it out to determine who wins the champion's crown. The NSL is a collection of Holdfast's most talented admirals, officers, and crews, and the tactical gameplay you'll see here is at a higher level than anything else this game has to offer. We hosts and co-hosts will be here for the entire battle to help you understand the decisions and strategies you'll see play out in the NSL Coliseum. So without further ado, let's get to the pre-game coverage. I'm joined today by my good friend Amit. Amit, how are you?
I'm doing well. Happy to be back as always.
Well, we have an exciting matchup today. Before we get into the details, let's go back and take a look at some of the fundamental pieces of information that our viewers are going to want to see to get the context of the league as it stands today, and then we'll go into our match. Let's start with our league standings. So, as you can see on the screen here, we have all six of the teams that are competing in the NSL and where they stand. Leviathan's at the top with a 5-0 score, the Krakens and the SCP-38 on the top half of the league, with the Krakens at a 3-1 record and the SCP-38 with a 2-1 record. Both of these guys are looking to challenge each other and then eventually the Leviathans for the top spots. But right now they're pretty comfortable in their victories, and it's looking like these teams may be shaping up to make it to the championships. However, there are three teams at the bottom of the league standings that are looking to punch their way up and unseat first the SCP-38, and if they're very ambitious, the Krakens. And those teams are the Royal Black Fleet, the Marines, and the Jackals. You can see here that each of those teams have a few more losses than wins on their record, but today we have a very interesting dynamic. As you can see, the Royal Black Fleet and the Marines are both 1-3, and they're who are going to be competing today. Before we get into that dynamic, let me pass it over to you, Amit. If you could take us through the player leaderboard and take us and tell us, where these individual players are on the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, and so there's been a battle not just in the water, but also in the leaderboards as well. These past few matches, we've seen a fair bit of movement for the top five. Granted, most of them have been there for some time, but Verita has once again pulled ahead of Spicy Paper for first place. I know Spicy's very, very much always keeping that in mind. And then Bobby is holding on to dear life for that fifth place after knocking McCandles from the Krakens down again, and they've been going back and forth and different spaces between those six players at the top. Very interesting to see that happening, and very good to see these players coming back every week for the most part, marking and helping the other teams, and at the same time, showing us what they're capable of.
Yeah, absolutely. And okay, maybe you can help me with this. I think I asked him myself. BB Bobby, BBB Obby, what BB Obby? Like, how many B's are in there? How do I pronounce this guy's name?
Oh, one day you'll get it. We just call him Bobby. I mean, that's all it is.
No, I can't do that. That's too easy. I mess it up and I say it differently every single time, and I think he likes that. So you know what? I'll just keep winging it. All right, let's take a look at the side by side for today's game. Again, we have the Royal Black Fleet versus the Marines. We have the Admirals in Gilly for the Royal Black Fleet and Kieran's for the Marines. We talked about their season record already. Both teams are 1-3, so this is the game that's going to put one over the other. Their all-time matchup is 0-0. We have not seen these teams fight. Their top players, we've got Splunker K for the Royal Black Fleet, Mr. Death, and Glock. And we've got S. Bjornson, Count Chocula, and the Seaman Demon for the Marines. The one to watch today, I know, I love that. The ones to watch are Splunker K for the Royal Black Fleet and S. Bjornson for the Marines. All right, Amit, you know what we do here? We talk about
Yes,
which
sir.
team we think is going to win, why we think. You have chosen, I think you said you were going to take the Marines today, so make your
I will.
case.
Okay, so today I'd like to give the edge to the Marines, despite their 1-3 record, which, by the way, is the same record the RBF has. They've shown a lot of endurance throughout all of their matches, or most of them, particularly against some of what we would consider the tougher opponents, especially earlier in the season. I think their first match was against the Krakens, and then right after that, I believe it was Leviathans. These are not easy teams to go up against, and they've taken it, especially with the Leviathans. They've always had that endurance and brought it down to just a couple ships difference between the two teams, and not allowing the points disparity to get too far out of whack. Unfortunately, there was one match where, or a couple of, cumulatively across all the matches, they had one bad one where it could be a bit difficult for them to pull ahead of the RBF in the future if they don't win today. But I think undoubtedly the Marines have some of the most experienced members. 77th are very good as well, and the first RM, who are very naval minded on the EU side. I know Kieran's. I've known him for quite some time, and the conversations I've had with him, and the things like the battles that my team has had against them. They're not a team to scoff at. I do hope to see a bit of aggression from them today. They are known to take things very carefully, but I think that they absolutely have the ability to kind of, I don't want to say steamroll the RBF, but I think they have it in them to bring out a big win today. So that's what I'm hoping for, and I think they're going to take it.
All right. Well, I am repping the Royal Black Fleet today. The Royal Black Fleet, we have seen just such a ridiculous variation in
Yeah,
their play style. Like sometimes they're locked in, they're fighting hard. Sometimes they're just throwing suicide charges at the enemy, and so it's all about what RBF shows up today. They have in their fleet they're a very diverse group of regiments. I think this is probably the team with the most regiments on it, maybe the SCP in the future. But right
SCP
now,
now, but we haven't seen him play yet, so
yeah, well, that's true. But with the Royal Black Fleet, they have a lot of moving parts. When those parts align, they have done amazing things. And when they don't, or when they just kind of feel like kind of happy-go-lucky and they just want to have a crazy battle where they'll do, I think Splunker is always saying they just like to rip and tear. They just get out there
right.
and they go nuts. And if they go out there and they go nuts, if they just charge the Marines, I don't foresee a victory. However, if they do maintain discipline and they fight this one to win, I think they have every piece necessary, which is to say they have good captains, they have a good crew, and they have the ability to stay together. They do possess all those things. It's just whether or not they want to use it. So I'm betting that they're going to, and that's why I think they're going to win tonight. Okay, so let's take a look at our map preview. Emmett, we're seeing a northeast wind direction. I think that's what we
Yeah,
have written here. That is
correct.
against the Marines and for the Royal Black Fleet. Another thing that the Royals could have on their side to make this a little bit easier for them to maneuver. The map is one in which we have half of the pill-shaped islands, half of the, I guess, dot islands or very small circular islands. Pill-shaped islands can be a real hindrance for a lot of teams in this league. And so I would think because the wind is pointing away from those islands, that may be where the battle starts, but I don't think it's where it's going to finish. How do you see this going, Emmett?
I mean, well, I guess so. Here's the thing: Week 11, a few weeks back, a few matches ago, we had the same map. It's the first time we've seen it in the league up until that point. I believe that was Jackals versus Leviathans, or sorry, that was RBF. What am I saying? Jackals versus Leviathans. That is correct. The wind was in a northwesterly direction in that case, and what we ended up seeing was that both that the Leviathans and the Jackals had kind of moved. Uh, sort of towards the edge of the map, and they ended up in kind of a line battle. I'm hoping we don't see that happen today. Yes, it did eventually evolve into kind of like a more typical all-out battle towards the late game. What I'm hoping to see here from the Marines is perhaps go against the wind in the beginning, get some of that cover at the islands at the north, and then maybe use the ability to come around to the, excuse me, I didn't say, I said north, I meant west, because the map, if you take a look, north is
Yes.
actually pointing towards the marine spawn here. So actually the pill shape islands up at the west, I think they could use that as cover, maybe come around to the south and then swing around behind the Royals if the Royals decide to go towards the northeast, which they could potentially decide to do. Given the wind advantage, you often want to try to take advantage of that. However, if the Marines are able to get behind the Royals and flip the tables, that may not go so well for them. Alternatively, the Royals may decide to, go perpendicular towards the northwest as well today and kind of cut off any sort of ability for the Marines to come around and sweep them from behind. And that'll force the Marines to go kind of against the wind as well towards the south direction. We'll
Yeah.
have to see, but I think the Marines do have options here, and the Royals also have quite a few options because of that wind advantage initially.
Yeah, if I'm the Marines, I'm very hesitant to go I guess a southwest or whatever against the wind.
Yeah,
That right turn out of their spawn is a very dangerous place, even though those islands would give them cover to do it. The Royals can get there pretty rapidly because to get to where the Marines are going to go. So if the Marines come out, like if you're taking a look at this map preview and you see the Marines,
yeah.
they turn right and they go basically to use those pill-shaped islands as shields. The Royals can go straight to the dead center and then turn to the left, to the Royals left, to meet them up behind those pill-shaped islands. And the entire time they will either have like 75% wind or 50% wind. So they're going to be moving fast compared to any Marine action against that wind. I think the Marines are going to have to find themselves going towards those circular shaped islands. I think
You
they're
think
going
so?
to
Okay.
need the maneuverability because what the Marines have to do is they have to pass the Royals. So once they pass the Royals, they flip flopped their starting positions, and then the Marines are the ones who can take the benefit from the northeastern wind direction. So it's got to be some kind of you got to flip when you have bad winds. You've got to kind of flip flop with the enemy team, and make them waste their good wind, and then you use it on the latter half of your battle.
So you're saying
How
that
you do that?
it suits them better to meet the Royals early, potentially towards the let's say the easterly side of the map where the smaller islands are,
Yeah,
and then potentially swing around behind them from the south. Is that what
something
you're
like
saying?
that. Yeah, I would say so. I think, you've really
I
got
think they
to
could.
consider that. Really got to consider the fact that, the Royals have just great wind. It's really what you don't want to see as their enemy. And so, that's the difficulty of all this.
Well,
So
we
here,
know the
let me
Marines have the composure to make something like that happen if they were to engage early, and maybe that's what they want potentially as well. They don't want a protracted battle.
absolutely. Um, Amit, I got to do a few settings real quick. So if you don't mind
Yep.
talking a little bit more about maybe anything that you know about the Royals or the Marines, just to give the audience any more context. I know that you said you have some kind of relationship. You've talked to some of these guys before, and I want to make sure that they know who these teams are in a little bit of a deeper way.
Sure. So with regard to the Marines, I know that we've got two capable admirals on there. We've got well, today it's going to be Kieran's, I believe, is going to be uh, the admiral, and then they also have Chewie. I don't know if Chewie's on today playing, but he's a very
I don't know either.
capable backup as well, and a very capable captain, gunner, all around very great player. And I know that he does have the ability to inspire his folks, at least in the game itself. Um, Kieran's I know a little bit more personally than I do with regard to Chewie or in comparison to Chewie, but
Yeah,
they're very particular about making sure that their crews are doing what they need to do when they need to be doing it. Um, I'm less familiar with the Royal Black Fleet. I know that they've been around since season one, I believe. Right now,
yeah,
it's
like
the FRL
preseason.
26th. Yeah, 26th FRL, 8th Alar. Um, they've all worked together. Like this is not a new thing for them.
No,
But I think you're right in your assessment earlier when you said we've seen a bit of a mixed bag from them. Gilly is their admiral today. I know that Gilly, when he's at the head of the strategy, things tend to go better for them.
I agree.
So I think today we're going to see a very good matchup between these two teams. As for who's the stronger team, um,
Oh,
like I
this is
said, I gave
juicy.
my opinion, but
Well, I mean, that's we kind of assigned that here,
I,
but the question is, I mean, do you sincerely, not having to, sort of strong Iron Man anybody or strong man anybody, do you think that the Marines are the stronger team here?
objectively speaking, I believe they have the more professional gunners, and really gunners could be the make or break difference between these two. When we talk about the Royal Black Fleet versus the Leviathans as well, they've done extremely well for themselves against you guys.
They do.
I think the one thing that maybe um, they didn't have at the time was probably the vast experience of the Leviathan's gunners, and things could have gone very differently had that been the case. Now, I haven't watched them play in a couple of weeks, so they may have done a lot of work to change that.
It was a very interesting thing when we talked to the Royal Black Fleet after their battle with us, the Leviathans. They had talked about they just seem to have like a different definition of victory on some of these things. So for when they
Yeah,
fought us, they talked about, well, we actually what we wanted to do is get an early advantage and then wait you out, time you out, basically get the point advantage and then not engage you guys. So they do think outside the box with their strategies. But does that always work for them? Absolutely not. But like it's that is not to say that it can't, and it's not to say that them looking at this from a very a very different viewpoint than most teams, which most teams are get in there, smash their fleets, sink every ship, destroy them, and if we get that far, great. If we don't, then just in trying, we're going to do so much damage to the enemy that we'll win. They're definitely thinking more about like what are the technical ways that we can win the battle, even if it doesn't involve sinking every enemy ship.
yeah, I
Um,
remember listening to that interview and thinking that was very interesting, and perhaps that wouldn't work so well against some of those more traditionally skilled teams. But it's definitely a valid perspective when talking about teams that are kind of in the mid section of this leaderboard.
yeah, I mean the thing
And first are or excuse me, Marines are one of those teams. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Um,
No, no.
you know, it was one of those things where when they fought us, they were almost like at the midpoint of that game, they were probably up on the points. Like they were doing what they wanted when they fought the Leviathans. They had a point advantage, and then they kind of started running. I mean, it didn't work for them in the end, but I think they got really close. And so it makes me think, they do have a really good thought process behind this. They have a strategic mind at work, and that's what you're looking for to see if a team can win. I want to take a moment
Take a look
to,
at.
yeah, take a look at the way that the beginning of this battle is playing out here. So remember, folks, we have the Royal Black Fleet on the left here in the yellow ships. We've got the Marines on the right here in the green ships. Remembering that the arrow, and I'll actually let's see if I can draw it on the screen here for you all. Remember that the wind, if you're looking at the overhead, is going basically this way. Okay, this is where the wind is going, and because the wind is going in that direction, this is a very hard trajectory because you're going dead against the wind. So what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at whether or not the Royal Black Fleet is able to get somewhere in here really fast before these guys can even reach here. And it's kind of looking right now, Amit, like they are getting there that fast. What do you
Yeah,
think?
it's exactly what you had feared, actually. I didn't realize they could get there that quickly, but especially given that the wind is actually moving more to the northeast and they're moving northwest. But you're right, they have like 75% wind if they angle themselves correctly. Um, I think the only option for the Marines here is to swing out to the middle, perhaps,
They've
because
got to do something and very fast.
if they're gonna go to the west, that seems like a death sentence to me because then you're just up against the wall, which isn't like the worst thing in the world, but then that provides opportunities for the Royal Black Fleet to bring people around, kind of in the center and around the rear. We don't want to see that happen. I don't think they want that to happen either.
I highly doubt
So
it.
I I think they need to make a quick decision here. It doesn't seem like they're doing. They're just waiting.
Well, they have
To,
cut their sails here. I think they're right now witnessing the I think we're witnessing the Marines in thinking mode right now. They've
yes.
got maybe 10 seconds to make this call before things start getting very, very bad for them. And the call that they need to make at this point is probably a port side turn for those of you not naval minded. Port means left. And so the flagship has to probably turn left. And what they may be doing is waiting for, and again, take a look. If you're looking at the overhead, let me try and kind of draw for you here what I think needs to happen. So I think that these guys are going to have to go this way. These guys are going to try and cross in front, and they're going to try and shoot across this distance. I think the only thing that these guys can do at this point, because I don't think they can turn this way. I don't think they can turn to the right on it. I think they have to
Yeah.
turn to the left, and they have to do it very quickly. And that could be. It looks like
Looks like they're going
they're
to
going
the
to get cut
right.
off from the front if they stay. The range is not horrible for them. Most of their ships are out of the Royal Black Fleet's range, right when they're going to make contact with the front. All right, so it looks like the 13 gun Emmett is turning starboard, turning to the right. So maybe they're
Yes.
going to do it to go to the wall.
I mean, that's their only way here to do it. I'm concerned that the Marines flagship, the 13 gun, is right at the front. It's going to be in blasting range of the RBF's own flagship as well as two 8 guns. Um, Whether they decide to offset that now is going to be probably the key determining factor of whether or not the Marines are gonna be able to have their 13 gun in the play for an extended period of time.
Yeah, I
I
think
am. Go ahead.
the thing here that we have seen in so many of these battles is that the 13 gun must not find itself in range of all enemy ships. I
Correct.
think at this point, the this is not a emergency situation for the Marines because I don't think the 13 gun is in range of their enemy eights, but I could be wrong about that. I think the 8 gun shots are falling just short,
They're
just
falling just
short.
about short, about 50 meters or so, from what I can see.
Now what has to happen is real. I mean, interestingly, if they bring it to the wall, the Marines could have a very now they can't because they can't cross the distance because it's dead against the wind. The Royal Black Fleet has every advantage right now. Because if they wanted to, they could take their rear 8 guns and charge them at the Marines line, and they would cause considerable chaos. So I guess we're going to have to see how this plays out. This is going to be, we're really going to have to see these ranges are going to matter at this battle, and you can see if you're looking at the overhead, the slight winnowing of that distance. It's getting a little bit more narrow, and the question is when they hit that wall, is the Marines 13 gun going to be in range of the 8s? If it is, it's going to be in a lot of danger.
What concerns me here is that the Marines don't have all of their 8 guns in line yet, whereas the Royal Black Fleet have a nice formation. If they really wanted to, they could try to peel their flagship out a little bit more to the left to keep some more distance from the Marines' 8 guns. But as it is right now, you're right. The advantage is with the RBF.
Just because of the wind, just because they have the wind, they could turn right and they have full, perfect northeastern wind. Um, the thing here is that we are basically kind of out of range. I don't
Yeah.
think any of these 8 guns are hitting each other. I don't think the slow entrance of the Marines 8 guns is too much of a detriment for them because they are not in range of anything. We are, however, seeing that the Marines 13 gun has shown the first signs of damage. And I know it might be difficult to see, but from our perspective, if you look at those white ship symbols, viewer, if you look at those white ship symbols at the top, you will see a hint of black at the top of the 13 gun, the one all the way
Mhm.
under the Marines. The biggest ship, the one all the way to the left, has a tiny speck of black there, and what that is damage being taken, and that's from the 13 gun. The question that maybe you can answer for me, Amit, because I'm stuck at this very high vantage point. What are each of these 13 guns shooting at? What is their
Uh,
target?
So looking at I'm zoomed in currently on the RBF's flagship. They're actually firing at the 8 gun that is directly behind the Marines' uh, 13 gun.
Okay.
I think they've decided that it's a weaker target, perhaps. Their carronade actually is firing at the 13 gun on the Marine side, so I don't think they've really chosen a target to prioritize. I'm seeing the 8 guns surrounding the RBF's 13 gun also firing at several different targets. Um, doesn't seem like much is going on there. Whereas the Marines are definitely targeting the 13 gun of the RBF, at least with the carronade. I don't know if it's in range of their main guns. It should be though. They're just landing a shy bit short, maybe about 10 meters or so.
I'm wondering if wait, is the lead RBF 8 gun hitting the 13 gun now?
Let's take a look here. It appears that they just stopped, and I think they're in range.
Yeah, because you can see it's a little bit more offset at the front, and it's you know viewers, these little differences in range are everything in these battles. These cannoneers are firing at maximum range. Maximum range, it's gonna do damage. It's gonna do damage, and we are starting to see the Marines flagship just slightly more damaged than the RBF. But this is a line battle, folks. This is a standard, very thoughtful very well distanced line battle. We are not seeing a lot of damage because most of these ships are kind of being held in reserve at the leading edge of range of each other. But as we're starting to see, it is now apparent the Royal Black Fleet's lead two ships are focusing fire on the Marines flagship. That that coordination is going to start them pulling ahead. Oh, and we're seeing the Royal Black Fleet pull out. They are leaving. So
Yeah,
it's
it
so
looks like
funny.
they decided that they don't want to engage in this kind of combat, and they have the wind advantage, as you said, so they're going to decide to move around and
Right. Now, this
um,
is going to be a very slow turn for them, but the turn is going to be equally slow for the Marines if they pursue.
correct, yeah. And the
And,
range is there. They have the ability to get away without taking too much damage from the
right.
Marines. So
That's
if
right.
there's any
And
time to move, I think now is the time.
absolutely. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with a refresh if you're not liking the particular advantage that you're getting here. And it looks like what they're trying to do is they're sending one of their 8 guns to just go hunt enemy gunboats. They've already sunk one of the Marines' gunboats with their 8 gun. So if you see that southeastmost 8 gun,
Yeah.
he's going around and just wrecking Marine gunboats. As and it's a good thing. Get them out of the way early, and then you have a gunboat advantage at the end of the game. So that's great for them. Um, it's interesting to see because actually the Royal Black Fleet was winning the 13 gun duel, but they decided to pull out of it. So now we're going to see, I think, the Marines are going to turn starboard. They're going to turn right because they need to use the wind. They need to break off and use the wind. So I think that's what we're going to see here. You mentioned something really important, Amit, which is the maximum range gunfire allows for these sort of maneuvers. So you think of when we talk about range, right? That's how far the cannons can shoot. And then at what point when if you shoot even at the high, even if you tilt your cannon up as high as you can and you shoot, you're still going to miss. Now, good admirals know their distances and they know that if I am at the maximum range of my enemies and I turn out just a little bit, I'm not going to take a lot of damage for doing so. It's the mark of a very well experienced captain and that an admiral to know what his maximum range is because it gives you the option to, like you said, escape safely. If they were deep within each other's range and one of them tried to break off, they would be getting slammed in the rear of their ship as they left. But that didn't happen here. And so we're seeing two mostly fresh fleets as they disengage and reform for the next phase of this battle. Where do you think it's going to happen, Amit?
Uh, Good question. Right now, we've seen the Royal Black Fleet detach their rearmost 8 gun to basically almost try to cut off the Marines' fleet towards the north of the map, and you can see that they actually have two of their gunboats positioned there as well that are engaging they were engaging the main fleet of the Marines, but now they're dueling with one of the Marines' gunboats coming out of their spawn. So I think they're going to try to use these ships to contain the Marines in a corner and kind of just cage them in and blast them away. The Marines certainly don't have the speed advantage, so I think it could happen.
Yeah, so I want to draw a little bit on the overhead real quick and just talk about what's going to happen here. So remembering that wind is this way, okay? These guys are going to jet down here faster than these guys could jet down here. That's because of the angle at which they're interacting with the wind. Full speed this way, half speed this way. It will end up with the Royal Black Fleet being able to basically use this position to hem in the Royal Black Fleet. Where are they going to go that these guys can't swing in front of them and block them? So that's what we're dealing with here. That's the situation that Kieran's as admiral of the Marines has to figure out. What's he going to do in this situation, and how is he going to get out of this trap where the Royal Black Fleet just keep hemming him in to this corner in here. Basically, this area is kind of where they're trapped because these guys have the ability to race all underneath that zone and really block the Royal Black Fleet. I'm sorry, block the Marines from escaping. It's a difficult situation, but we're going to see another line battle go with the wind. And so, to kind of predict the future a little bit here, we're going to see the Royal Black Fleet is going to come this way. The Marines are going to come this way, and we may find ourselves just kind of hitting the wall here again, as both of these lines have to form because of the range that they're going to have, and they're going to be firing all within this area as they go. Let's see if my prediction is correct here. It certainly looks like that's the way it's shaping up.
At this point, it looks like the the two sets of ships, the Marines 13 gun and their first 8 gun behind them, and then the two lead 8 guns on the RBF are definitely in range of each other. They're exchanging a lot of fire now. The two
The
RBF, go ahead.
No, no, no. Please continue.
I was just
I
gonna
have
say the
something to
two
say, but
RBF 8 guns are definitely focusing fire on that Marines flagship. It seems that they know they've already given damage to it. So, I mean, I would do the same thing. Why not prioritize it? It's right there. It's got very little support.
yeah, this is the decision I believe that is going to spell the doom for the Marines today, and it is that Kieran's has not pulled his 13 gun into reserve. It is now almost down to half HP. It has done functionally no damage to any of the RBF ships, and that RBF 13 is basically just fine. And that is a problem. That's a big problem for the Marines as they try to get an advantage here. You do not want to be the first person to lose your 13 gun, because if you do, the rest that it immediately switches on aggression mode from your enemy team. As soon as they see your 13 gun go down, they know they're going to win this battle, and they start acting like it. And that morale boost is extraordinarily dangerous to fight against. We do not see these guys going quite to the wall where I thought they were, so my prediction was wrong. Instead, they seem to be going really far to the east southeast. They're going to just basically flip to the other side of this map than the one that they started on. Kyrus has got to get that 13 gun out from the front of his fleet. He's got to slow this down. He's got
Yeah.
to get him out. He's this is a big mistake to have a 13 gun engaging with 8 guns, because you will eventually get worn down. And honestly, he's not done that much damage to any of the 8 guns, and they have brought him down to almost half. So we are really in a danger zone here. The Marines have got to bring their 8 guns forward and hold their 13 gun back.
You know
They are
what I
not
would
doing
have
so.
what I would have done if I was Kieran and I see this happening. It's obvious the RBF want to cut them off. They're using all their speed. Look at the distribution of their ships. They could have slowed down a little, well, towards that island that their middle set of ships
Mhm.
are passing, and even now they could take two of those rear 8 guns and try to, bring them in towards the rear, get some distance, or shorten the distance. I don't know if that would work right now because for whatever reason, looks like they really want to push the Marines flagship forward. To what end, I couldn't tell you. Like, I would say pull it back, let it be in
Absolutely.
formation with the ships behind it, distribute the fire a little bit, get some distance. We just don't see that happening here. It seems almost like a panic situation to try to break out, and it's just not happening.
There's a cannon explosion on the Marines 13 gun that just does not bode well. I would say that right now, this minute here, is the last moment that the Marines have to save that 13 gun, and they are absolutely wasting it. And take a look at the 13 gun, extraordinary 13 gun discipline on the Royal Black Fleet side. That guy is nowhere near danger. And he is lobbing shots high up and over at whatever the hell he wants, knowing that even if he trades an 8 gun at the front of his line, and he gets the enemy 13 gun in response to that, in exchange for that, that is a good deal. Take that deal and enjoy it. Not to mention the fact that the walls, the curvature of the Colosseum, is not going to favor the Marines. And it looks like, maybe my angle is strange, but it looks like the 13 gun is about to charge the front of their line. Suicidal, catastrophic maneuver. Not the right choice, and unfortunately very dangerous, and very like to see the 13 gun get completely sunk by 8 gun fire before it gets anywhere close to the 8 guns. I don't see this 13 gun lasting another minute.
It's lost a lot of HP in the past, minute, as you said. Even now, as we're talking, every one of those cannon hits, you can see that HP dropping rapidly, as I'm saying this here.
Really.
Yeah, I mean,
I gotta think that there was a huge issue with starboard side cannons. I think the 13 gun lost its right side cannons, and that's why he's turning in. He's trying to. Oh my god, this is brutal to watch, and it's down. It's down. Probably not even 20 seconds after I said that.
yeah.
The 13 gun's down, and I don't like to call it before it's finished, but that is basically, with the RBS HP situation as it is, that's it for the Marines. The question is now going to be what level of victory the RBF get. And I have to say, this is the RBF that we've been looking for. This is the controlled, professional, wise stewardship of your fleet from Gilly that you come to expect from him. He's a great admiral, and you can really see it here. this is horrible for the Marines. Really, really tough.
Yeah, and this is what I mentioned Gilly earlier on, is because we've seen several different admirals for the Royal Black Fleet, and I definitely think Gilly's the strongest one. Definitely the one with the most composure, and one that thinks the most strategically, I think.
Yeah.
He takes things slow and measured and doesn't rush anything, and we've seen that in the past. And sometimes that's been a critique that I've had of him in the past, but certainly you can never really you can never really criticize someone too much for preservation of their ships in a situation where
Right.
um, they in a situation where they're going up against an enemy that um, seems a little bit erratic. And I wouldn't say the Marines were erratic here. It just seemed almost like
They just
they're
couldn't.
on
They
autopilot.
started
They
in a
just
bad
didn't know what to
position.
do.
They started in a bad position. They went in the worst possible direction from that position. I mean, I think time after time we have seen that if you start with the wind kind of against you, it's never directly against you anymore. Sometimes it's diagonally, right? If you
Yeah.
make the choice to then go directly against that wind, you have problems, and almost always the enemy team hems you into that position and then punishes you and doesn't let you go. And so you can see that the Marines never got to escape the side that they spawned on. Never for a minute. They've been there the whole time. And that is because of the Royal Black Fleet's maneuvering. They've done a great job.
So we see what the Marines are doing right now. Granted, the RBF ships are now chasing them from the wall, but they had an opportunity to do this turn way earlier when they still had their capital
Yeah.
ship,
Yeah.
and they just didn't do it. It's like logic had invaded them until this point, and I don't know why that that 13 gun
It's something I
or
have
that
seen.
8 gun
It's
ran into them.
it's something I've seen
Yeah,
from a lot of times that when you lose your 13 gun, all of a sudden it kind of brings a level of clarity to your fleet.
clarity.
Oh,
Yeah,
this is what we should have done. This is what we just did, and this is what we should have done. And you do see these maneuvers. Um, I think the one I remember most recently is the Jackals doing that sort of like bonsai charge towards the Leviathans in their last match, where the as soon as the Jackals lost their 13 gun, they charged every single 8 gun with their 8 guns and made it a messy boarding duel. And that was a strategy that could have really worked for them if they had done it while their 13 gun was still perfectly healthy. So, admirals, take heed. Think about what you would do right now if your 13 gun sank, and then while your 13 gun's still good, do that, because that's usually how you would win. In this situation, though, it does kind of look more like the Marines are just running. They do see, and they're going against the wind again, and they are fleeing, and they're taking a lot of shots at that rear ship for it.
what they could probably do at this point. I mean, I don't personally believe they're going to win this one anymore. However, if they can get into a formation where they can start doing some damage on that easterly, uh, excuse me, what direction is that? Yeah, the easterly 8 gun, the rear one on
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
Marines.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, they could try to put out some points, or they could deal with those two at their rear, but the distance might be a bit problematic for
Yeah,
them.
to scribble a little bit on the overhead, let me just talk about what they could do here. Remembering that the wind is going this way, right? Always important to consider. This trajectory is very fast for them. So they have 2 ships, maybe 3 ships here, who are all going to be kind of in their zone. These guys, to pursue them, are going to have to go against the wind and then turn around. So this pursuit from these 2 ships is going to be very slow, whereas these guys, we can deal with the group down here and get a little bit more close to parity 3v3. I
Yeah.
think they could come down here and bully these 2 8 guns pretty nicely. And so that's a position that I see them able to do something to turn this around for themselves a little bit. The
Yeah.
only hope that they have is to divide the enemy fleet and defeat it in detail. That will be very hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I want to see them defeating it, but they have mostly full HP on all three of the Marines
Mm-hmm.
8 guns. They can still do stuff here.
Yeah.
You know, perhaps not take out the capital ship, but um, it seems
Well,
like
I mean,
any time that they would have to do that is evaporating quickly as again.
let's say this: if they could sink 3 ships in the next 9 minutes and not lose a single one, they win.
It's true.
So it's not out of the question. Not the small boats, not the gunboats, of which, by the way, uh, the Marines do not have many left. We haven't really talked about this, but the RBF's gunboats have obviously shredded the Marines. They have lost 2 to the Marines 4. So that is a huge advantage that they have right now. But take a look. I mean, what we could say about the Marines is at the end here, they are using distancing very, very well. They have 2 of the ships that basically can't hit them. I'm not even sure the 13 gun can reach. Maybe it can. Probably it can. But they are aiming. Yeah. So, these shots here at this guy, if this guy, because he's the closest, right? You can see that his line is here. This guy is back here. This guy is back here, right? So if these guys' range can hit here, that's perfect. But if this guy can only get to, say, here, he can't quite get as far, then this is a 3v1 right now. So that would be very exciting for the Marines and something that they would really like to see and do. That's the range that they want. Then what they could possibly do, again, 8 minutes is not the longest time, but it's not nothing. They could then flip around and hit these guys as they come in. And again, just work. I mean, these guys seem to be coalescing, so maybe that's not the best idea. But,
Yep.
It's all about fighting one at a time. It's all about fighting one at a time. If they can do that, then they're going to be set. Or at least they'll have a hope. Unfortunately, yeah. Now the Royal Black Fleet has come back together pretty strong.
They're very much together, and it seems that the Marines they're just magnetized to this wall. They're like a moth against the light. They love the wall, and
They
the
do.
same issue is going to happen again. They're just going to get encircled from the rear and ring around the rosy. They are pulling out to the southeast now.
They've got to. They've got to. Because the worst thing of all is that they're probably out of range, but that 13 gun, at least its carronade, is probably not out of range, which means that they are taking shots and they're not getting any hits. So they've got to get the heck out of there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there are any right moves here. Like they've got just under 7.5 minutes to do something here, and given the distance and the capabilities and the gigantic formation of the Royal Black Fleet, I don't know. They may be out of ideas themselves.
I don't want to suggest that they just run for it, but I have to say, preserving your ships right now in any way possible, basically going again after enemy gunboats, is the best thing that you can do right now because it's going to get you points and it's not going to risk your ship sinking. So, and that's what they seem to be doing actually. They're all firing off their right sides, their starboard sides, to hit gunboats that are pursuing them. So, let's see. I mean, let's see how it goes for them. It's this is a dark situation for the Marines. They are losing, and the only thing that's really working for them right now is that the RBF is not really with the wind, and therefore they can't pursue very quickly. So everybody's this is a very slow transition to the next phase of this battle, the final phase of this battle, and we're going to see if the Royal Black Fleet can coax the Marines to get closer to their massed and bristling with cannons fleet so that they can finish off a few more ships from the Marines. But I think it's safe to say, at this point, the Royal Black Fleet has catapulted itself firmly into the 4th place in the league.
Yeah, and depending on how badly they lose in terms of points here, that could push potentially the Royal Black Fleet into the 3rd place, past the SCP-38. If they win with enough points difference, the SCP-38 doesn't have much of a points surplus for a 2-1 record, so we could see that happen here. And it's up to the Marines to decide whether or not they want to deny them that. Or I don't know if they think about things like that.
I think at this point, the amount of gunboats that have been sunk on the Marines team already suggests that the Royal Black Fleet is going to have quite a large, I think they have 2 left so the Marines have 2, a gunboat and a rocket boat left. Maybe just 2 rocket boats, I'm actually not sure. Whereas the Royal Black Fleet have 4 of those boats left. So it's a pretty big disparity. They haven't lost a single ship, a capital ship. So, I mean, this is going really well for them so far. Oh, there's another one down, and that leaves the Marines with a single gunboat on the field. Every other one of their small boats is finished. That's going to be great points here. 4 minutes and 39 seconds left on the clock, and we're starting to see both of these fleets slowly drift into each other's range. But first, the Marines are going to try and hit that last Royal Black Fleet gunboat or rocket boat that is well within their range. And then we're going to see what happens. So, big cannon
Oh, there goes the
explosion.
cannon. Yep.
Yeah, big cannon explosion on that, what is clearly a gunboat. And there you go. We do see some action from the Marines. They seem to be turning to their starboard, to their right, and charging the enemy line. This is a good moment to do it because the Royal Black Fleet 13 gun is actually behind islands, and so this is the moment where they have to. This is like a kind of a glorious last stand, yeah, I think I admire it, and we'll see how it plays out. We will see how it plays out.
On that topic, I only loosely alluded to it earlier while the Marines 13 gun was still alive and pushing forward towards its demise. But you see how spread out the Marines formation is. I always felt like this entire match they've been trying to catch up to each other after that initial separation between the two teams
Yes.
against that wall towards the northwest earlier, or the west side, and it's just I don't know what the thinking is. I guess we'll find out in interviews, but I really feel like if that's Western 8 gun, the one that's kind of off on its own from the Marines, had joined its friendlies over to the east side, they could have especially done some damage to that 13 gun from the Royal Black Fleet on this match. I mean, there's only
Yes.
just under 3 minutes, but
Yeah.
3 minutes is a long time still.
I remember again when we fought. They had talked about a little bit about some maybe inexperienced captaining on the Marines. They talked about just sort of a lack of cohesion, and I think that may be what we're seeing here. We may be just seeing newer captains getting broken in by the brutal reality of how talented some of these teams are in the NSL. And I think in these last 2 minutes and 20 seconds, we're going to see these guys really try to surround the 13 gun and sacrifice their ship HP to see if they can't sink the 13 gun. I don't think they realize at this point that the 13 gun is almost fresh. They are probably thinking, we have to sink 2 ships. How are we going to do this? One of them's got to be the 13 gun. I disagree. I actually think that they could, I don't know. I think they probably should have tried to focus on maybe the lead 8 guns. Things would have developed differently if they had done so. But it's a tough call. It's a very tough call when you're this far down. What do you do to come back? It is not easy. It is not easy at all to make these decisions. And I have a lot of sympathy for Kieran's at this point because you've got to make impossible choices and hope for a miracle. They're not going to get one. And so what we're going to see is just a lot of damage put into these 8 guns, and you're just praying that they don't sink. They do. Look what they've done here, though. I mean, you got to admire them, Ahmed. They have surrounded the 13 gun on 2 sides.
They have done that, yes.
One of their ships is about to go down doing it, but they have done it.
And this is why I really wish they had that third 8 gun with them, because they could have
Yeah.
absolutely done a way more damage. But look at that, a mass going down on that 13 gun. That's always nice to see. That's a little too late, but
It's going to keep them.
is what we're here for, right?
Yeah, it's going to keep them in the 13 gun in a bad position for longer, and that's something. I mean, 59 seconds left. Again, yes, too little, too late. This is such a cool maneuver. This is so exciting. And it turns out that actually those are the 2 ships that were really. So we have to really admire this maneuver at the end here. The ship that broke off, that 3rd ship you were talking about, was the one that was most damaged. The 2 ships that are assaulting the 13 gun right now do appear to be very healthy. If you're going to send 2 ships to charge suicidally at a 13 gun, those are the 2 ships to do it. And again, give them another minute or 2. I'm not convinced that this 13 gun would stay up. So, because when you surround a ship and you hit it from 2 sides, it goes down fast. So, I mean, a really amazing last-ditch play from the Marines that I think that they can leave proud of. That they left it all on the field, as it were. Here, they did not go down running; they went down swinging, and sometimes that's the best that you can ask for here. And with 2-1, we are finished with this battle. This was a great battle, really great for the Royal Black Fleet. And I think you're right, Amit. I think what we can say about this battle upon its conclusion is that not only did let's take a look at the score. No, it's a very respectable score here. 17,000 point difference So pretty good. And I think, yeah, I think this might actually put them in the third place, depending on where we have to go check the standings. Um, Let me go take a look really quick, actually. But anyway, getting back to my sort of summary here, I think at the beginning, the biggest thing here is I think that the Marines chose the wrong starting direction. You don't
Yeah.
go against the wind. You just can't do it. If you're going to go against the wind, you have to understand that you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to move anywhere fast. And the enemy, if they're aggressive, are going to just go straight at you. And you're going to feel that pressure, and you're going to want to turn out, and you're not going to be able to because of the wind issue. I'd say that the other thing here is that when those two groups split, they really did not, the Marines did not benefit from that split. They got, like you said, very messy and they never got quite back together. Um, that I feel really was at issue here. Is just the Marines could never quite get their footing today. Started with this decision at the beginning that just didn't work for them, and it just kind of continued the whole way through. They were pressured at all points.
Yeah. It really did seem like they weren't in any state of relaxation where you could probably say that for the RBF. They were just, every little shift, they knew what to do.
Yeah, I mean, there was a part where the RBF's 13 gun was out of range of every other ship. I mean, that's as they were going. They swung around. The Marines were leading its fleet. Some of its ships were really far behind. The RBF didn't have their 13 gun in range of anything, and yet they knew that they were going to be doing so much damage to the Marines' lead 13 gun. That the positioning of the 13 gun is such a crucial thing, and I think this was a real showcase for that.
Indeed.
I'm excited to talk to these guys and find out what they did. Let's take a moment to, both kind of independently look at our host information here and take a look at what the total scores are as we see them now. So the so the SCP are up by 3,000.
Yeah, not
Um,
very much at
the
all.
but the Royal Black Fleet are up by 8. I mean, so the SCP are gonna end up Um,
Oh,
they're
I
going to
see
end up
here.
being, because the Royal Black Fleet is at -8. They got 17, right? I'm horrible at math, but I'm pretty sure that's not going to put them over the SCP. They're going
Well,
to
actually,
be.
what I've just realized here is that the record is
Oh
currently
wait, maybe.
1-3 for both Marines and Royal Black Fleet. So technically, SCP still third place because we only have one
Yeah,
loss.
it's not.
We'll,
Yeah, they're going to stay third.
yeah,
I mean, no matter what. But what I think what the Royal Black Fleet have done is they have just secured fourth place for
they
themselves.
really have. Yeah.
And with the Marines at the -44,
Ah,
it's going to be tremendously difficult. Now it's basically them. It's whether or not the Jackals can punch up against the Marines. So the Marines have
yeah.
found themselves kind of really fallen and solidified into their place. The Royal Black Fleet have confirmed and held their place. Now the Royal Black Fleet need to rely on the SCP-38s losing some battles, losing 2 battles, and then at that point they can really strike. So the Royal Black Fleet's got to hold on to this. They've got to win. Obviously, everybody has to win, but to really get to crack the top 3, the Royal Black Fleet are now in position to do it. Unfortunately, the Marines are not really in a strong position to do it. Of course, anything can change. It really depends on who both of these teams are fighting in their coming few weeks. But we are past the halfway point of the season, if I'm not mistaken, and
Yeah, we might be.
yeah, I think we're past it. Um, so now it's everybody's got to really win everything. And the Royal Black Fleet, today they showed that they can win, and it's now a question of whether or not they can continue to strike upwards as they did. Now, let's take a look. We do have our 2 admirals here. We have Gilly and Kieran's. So, welcome, gentlemen. We'll start with Gilly. We also have Splunker, I see here today from the Royal Black Fleet. So first of all, let's start. Gilly and Splunker, congratulations on a really nice victory today. This was a real return to form for you guys, and just shows the strong fundamental capabilities that you guys have, and your ability to. I think today the story was that you guys controlled the tempo of the battle basically from the get go, and you kind of never gave it up. What I'd like to ask you is, sort of the general question: what was your strategy today? Did it play out like you expected?
It did for the most part, outside of where we thought the initial battle would go.
Yeah.
Um, but understandably, we were trying to capitalize on the win, and they weren't just running into our broadside. So it was kind of a chess match to get into range of each other. Even in the
Yes.
initial sort of battle when we were fighting in their spawn, it was like we were barely chipping each other at some points, which is why we
Yes.
pulled back. And then at that point, Splunker was able to get his 8 gun to lead the column and cross their T, and that's really when we were able to capitalize and kind of get more damage done. That's why he had
Now,
the highest captain score today. Sorry, my bad.
yeah. No, 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 not at all. Splunker, you were the rear 8 gun that turned off to fight the gunboats in the beginning of the battle?
Correct.
Right. So yeah, you're always the renegade, Splunker. You're always the guy doing his own thing out on the map. And today it really worked for you because not only were you, I think, instrumental in chipping away at their gunboats, the gunboat advantage, I think, giving you guys the great point score that you ended up having. I think you guys were what plus 17 at the end of the score, plus 17,000. So and I think getting those gunboats, starting it early and just working through it throughout the battle really did help you with your points. But it also put you in position when the lines both flipped. You were the lead, and that was really cool to watch how you could pressure the front of the Marines fleet, and really never let them out of their side of the map. I think that was another thing we talked about. The Marines never got out of their spawn side. Um, and that's because you guys, you started the withdrawal, which is interesting because you were actually kind of winning. I mean, it wasn't a huge difference there or anything, but you were winning that chip battle in the beginning where you guys were just sniping with your long range cannons. But what I really saw in the beginning was just the mastery from both fleets at staying at that maximum range, and it really showed a very healthy respect that you guys have for each other. Now, then things turn around, and then you guys race with the wind. You guys have that advantage where you're kind of a little bit more with the wind than the Marines are, and then you hem things in. I noticed you must have been really feeling yourself. Gilly, were you captaining the 13 gun? I forgot to ask.
Yes, sir.
Right. So you at some point you were basically out of the battle. You were offset from your 8 guns, which were dealing tremendous damage to the 13 gun of the Marines, and you were just kind of like lobbing shots, having a little bit of fun back there. So at that point, I guess you were feeling pretty confident in the battle going your way.
Not just that, I knew Splunker once he had flipped and reestablished the line. I knew that their 13 guns T was crossed, so it was more or less trying to also have a position so when they bank in inevitably, because
Yeah.
I didn't expect them to ram into 8 guns. We had good firing position on that, and we were able to support our 8 gun in the rear that was being harassed by gunboats as well.
Yes. Yes.
I really wish
Yeah.
they did ram our 3.8 guns though. I would have gotten a lot more tearing if they did. That would have been
No,
great.
I know. You were looking for your terror. No, and we'll ask Kieran's, of course, but I think it had a lot more to do with losing cannons on their starboard side than it was about trying to ram you guys. It looked like he was trying to get a turn in, and of course, we'll talk to him in a moment to find out if that was the case. Um, so yeah, I mean, I want to pass to Amit before I wrap up my interview with you. But Amit, what questions do you have for our victorious team?
Well, I do have some questions about like your preparation, if there is any that you do. You guys are a very well integrated team, and you have been even in the preseason. And we were talking in the pre-match commentary about how we've seen a bit of a mixed bag, but today it seemed like everything was in the right place at the right time. And Gilly, I also made mention that I have observed that things usually tend to go better for your team when you are um, at the admiral position. So I did want to ask: is there some sort of understanding between you and your fellow captains and admirals about how things have worked for you in the past and improvements that have been made across the board? Because today, I'll be honest with you, it was a very good showing from your team, and I'm very impressed.
So we did meet twice before the match. The first time we really just kind of explore from their perspective things they would do, try to come up with counters essentially, but we don't ever want to have a plan for every scenario because of how fluid things are. Something we've gotten really good at is having like a baseline doctrine where it's like we're not going to concede the win no matter what. Um, and basically just sort of having that principle in mind and everyone knowing that allows us to coordinate better. I think over the season, and it happened in preseason as well, our fire communication or fire focus as well has gotten a lot better. New captains popping in like Olam, Potato. We have Sparks, Carjacks, Sebastian. Everyone sort of just fluctuates and hops in when we need them to. So it's not really like a group sort of practice, more than a philosophy that everyone sort of bides into.
Sounds good. Yeah, and as Limerick said a little bit earlier, we're about halfway through the season now. There's a lot of time that you've had to mature in the early half, and um, I think you're really getting your footing now. Also, nothing, not to say anything against that, because you haven't typically had the easiest opponents to play against so far. I mean, I think my first match was against your team, and we didn't really win by a whole lot. In fact, I don't think we sank ships on either side. So, and then right after that, you went up against the Leviathans, and then you played against the Krakens as well, I believe. So, this is good stuff, man. Congratulations. I don't really have any other questions for you.
I think I want to
Appreciate you,
echo.
brother.
I echo congratulations. It's really nice to see you guys. I've always really thought, in my I battled with you. We've had some good ones, me and you guys. And
Oh yeah.
I've really enjoyed my battles with you guys. You guys really you have a different way of looking at victory and defeat in this league. You have, but I've always thought there was a really strong mind behind your calculus, and I'm really glad to see it paying dividends here. Um, and so let me. I just want to take a look because what we have to talk about now. This puts you in the position, right? You guys are the ones with the real hope at this point of knocking SCP-38 out of third rank and getting into the top three and getting into the championship. So I guess the question is, this is week 14. So now you have, let's see, you have a battle against the SCP-38 coming up. That's going to be a tough one. You've got another one against the Leviathans after the Labor Day break. Um, you've got one against the Krakens. You've got let's see what else. You got another against the Jackals. So I mean, my question for you, honest answer here: do you think you're going to crack that top three?
I think it's possible, but I think it's going to rely on us putting in a little bit more effort as well as a little bit of luck, because the three teams ahead of us are very good teams. Whenever we've played them, I believe KRA was the one that beat us like decisively throughout the match. X, when we
Yeah.
played you guys, very good, and then we kind of fell apart in the last 6 minutes. SCP-38, again, it was like a 1,200 point or 12,000. Maybe I'm missing a zero. It was a very close match with no ship sunk. So we really are just hoping you guys cannibalize each other a little bit, and we
That's,
That's what
we
we start with,
capitalize
yeah.
on the momentum and ride
yeah,
that.
I mean, it could get very bloody in the top three, so that would be all to your benefit. Well, great. Thank you for answering our questions and congratulations on a great victory. We're going to turn now to Kieran's. Kieran's, are you with us?
Hello.
All right. Well, welcome, and thanks for a really great match today. Unfortunate that you did not win. This was the map was not in your favor today, certainly. But we saw, especially in the beginning, a real composure in your fleet. Tell us a little bit about what your strategy was going in, because I think for me, the turn against the wind is definitely a controversial choice to be sure, and having that dead wind is a tough start. So, what did you think that you were? What was the gain out of that maneuver? And just take us through your thought process throughout.
Well, let's start. So firstly, congratulations to Gilly and Splunker. So initially the plan was to get a battle line and then slowly progress towards the enemy fleet and then engage and hopefully outmaneuver, and just be the better shots. But that didn't turn out our way. When they peeled off towards the start, um, we were sort of wanting to beat them towards the northeast direction, which they were, going full steam ahead. But yeah, they really they beat us to it, and it was a tough first battle, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think talk to me a little bit about were you piloting the 13 gun?
No. So we had a few new captains. So
Gotcha.
Henry West was
Oh, that's right,
13
Henry
gun
West.
captain.
Um, so
Yeah.
and so what was you were admiral today? Were you overhead? Were you on any of the ships? What was your
Yeah,
position
overhead. Yeah, so
overhead?
I was just giving direction to Henry, who was the vanguard, and he was. Yeah, the idea was for the rest of the eight guns to follow suit with what Henry does.
Now we've seen over the season that that the most dangerous position for the 13 gun is at the lead of the fleet because it attracts so much attention. Obviously, right? It's gonna
Yeah.
if they have the option, they're going to shoot at it every time, and that's why you see some of the fleets trying to sort of like kind of hold off, withdraw, or keep offset
Yeah.
their 13 gun. So, what was the thought? With the 13 gun leading, was it just sort of to keep the morale strong and keep a leader in the front and have him sort of, if you have new captains, a 13 gun who kind of knows what he's doing can really kind of herd those cats very well. So it was kind of like a
Yeah.
leadership thing?
Yeah, well, Henry is a really good captain.
Yeah.
So the idea was put Henry on the 13 gun. It's his first time captaining in the NSL, but
Ooh.
it's very very. It's no different to going in an event where you're playing against some really tough teams in there,
Yeah.
such as X or KRN independently. So Henry knows what he's doing, and my plan was to have him there. The 13 gun at the front. It seems very typical for us, the Marines, to do that, and I didn't want to change that sort of combination, our fleet formation. But what I found last week was we split the fleet up with the 13 gun, and it went terribly for us. So my sole doctrine today was keep the fleet together at all costs, and we rely on the 13 gun to be our punching power.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's it's certainly able to put out the most damage by far, and the counterbalance of that, of course, is to lose it can be so devastating. Now,
Yeah.
at some point, I had mentioned earlier there was that part where Henry's turning his 13 gun, and I'm assuming that's because he probably lost a lot of starboard side cannons. Is that right? Is he trying to flip the ship basically there at that point when he's got those 3 8 guns in front of him, and he kind of looks like he's going into them, but he keeps the turn going?
Well, to be honest, I was focusing on some of our rear 8 guns at the time. So at that point, Henry was acting somewhat independently, but I wasn't displeased with that. I'm glad he was making a decision because you don't want to just hit the wall and then try and outgun the 3 8 guns that are in front of you, waiting for the rest of the fleet to catch up. So
Yeah.
what his plan was, I think there was some discrepancies on the starboard side cannons, so he wanted to utilize the port side cannons more,
Yeah,
and so
it had
that's why
all
he,
the
yeah,
it had all the signs of I need to turn the ship around. I need more firepower.
yeah,
Obviously, a big risk reward for turning into 3 8 guns.
yeah,
Now, um, so the 13 gun sinks. Okay, now you're down. I think you're down to 3 8 guns, and we saw
yeah.
some really. I thought the end of the battle was sort of the shining moment for you guys because you really did a great job. I listened. At that point, I think maybe the ink was dry on who was going to win and who was going to lose. But what I said at the end of the day is you guys left it all out in the field. You went down swinging. You didn't go down running, and I think that is a credit to your team and the like sort of the valor of your captains. And they got this really phenomenal envelopment of the 13 gun at the end there, which was just like so unexpected at the end. They demastered the 13 gun. They had them for both sides. So tell me a little bit about that moment because that was very exciting.
Yeah, I agree with you. That was sort of the highlight for the Marines throughout the whole match was towards the end. I said to the captains, I said, look, we're not likely to win, so I want you guys to go and be daring and go and utilize your ship as best as you can. So, Seaman, the 85th captain, just took it upon himself to charge straight towards their fleet, I thought was great. I was watching the whole thing, and then SB from the 77th went to the rear. And I just said, look, you've got a great opportunity for Seaman to utilize his starboard cannons and for SB of the 77th to utilize his portside cannons and to try and take down the 13 gun. And so, they were actively going for that. And
Uh,
then again, Count Chocula is one of our newer 8 gun captains, and I think he was harassing the gunboats, I believe, at the
Not only did
time.
he
But
harass the gunboats, he was the sort of low HP ship at the end there, right?
yeah, yeah,
Not only did he harass the gunboats, but he peeled 2 8 guns off in a chase against him, which really allowed Seaman and SB to get in their position without taking like prohibitive amounts of fire as they came in because
yeah.
they took a lot of damage going in, but they had a lot of HP, and so only having to fight basically 2 8 guns firing at them a little bit with a 13 gun. I mean, they really got to get in there and have a lot of fun at the end. So I mean, that was really cool. It was a great
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's what I said as well. Look, let's just have some fun with it. We're here to be gamers. Let's game.
Yeah,
That's
I love
exactly
it.
what they did.
I love it. Amit, you got any questions for Kieran's?
I did, but it has escaped me now, and I didn't write it down, so I apologize. Perhaps I'll save it for a later
I
date.
thought I heard you say, Amit, when are the Marines making a comeback? And I promise you, we're going to be doing something soon. We're sick of being, the back end towards last in the NSL. So yeah, we're going to be doing something soon. We're
You
going to
got
change up
some
our
plans?
formations. Yeah, of course. So
Oh, anything you want to tease for us, or it's a secret?
oh, we're getting sick of the same type of combat that we do, the Marines. We just do the same thing like every match. Right? Let's just chase them, play a bit passive, but no, we're just going to be going full aggressive. We're going to be putting our best gunners on the best ships, regardless,
Oh man,
and yeah,
Oh, that's
he heard me
exciting.
talking at the pre-show.
Oh,
we're,
that's exciting.
we're gonna we're gonna be the
Those
team
are
to
exactly
watch
the words
going
I used.
forward.
I said I wanted to see more aggression from the first or excuse me, the
Yeah.
Marines. So,
Wow. Well, that is, you heard it here first, folks. We are going to be seeing a new Marines from here on out, and we're very excited to see it. Amit, what else you got? Anything?
no, I just want to say thanks to both teams for giving us a nice match today. It was not boring by any means. So,
No.
hope to see more great things from both of you.
I'd
In the
also
future.
like to. I'd also like to give my thanks. I appreciated the 2 full rowboats of boarding parties that you sent towards us. I appreciate the tearing. It was beautiful. It was my favorite part of the whole event. I love it.
Oh,
Aye,
beautiful.
I
I
did
like it.
notice the war crimes in the corner of my eye. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you to our participating admirals for a great match. I hope that everyone at home enjoyed it as much as we did getting to watch it. Amit, thanks so much for joining me today. It's always great to have you here in the host box. Um, I want to, obviously there's so many people to thank. This is such a huge production from everybody. We've got tons of guys on the cameras, our correspondents. We've got people who are organizing the mercenaries. We've got all sorts of things. So very big thanks to them. And for you viewers at home, thank you for joining us. I want to preview what we're going to be doing next week. We've got another really fascinating match. We've got the SCP-38s versus the Krakens. These two teams are the second and third, or third and second respectively, in the league. And the SCP-38s are a team that you will barely even recognize when they come out next time. Amit, do you want to tell us a little bit? Do you want to? I don't know if it's a state secret at this point, but do
Oh,
you
for
want to
sure
tell us a little
not.
bit?
But
I know, because I've been blabbing it to everybody
sure.
who
I
can
mean,
listen.
like it's going to be obvious once people start seeing the names on the scoreboards. Once we get into the match and the kill feed. Back in April, there was some work done by you as well to get a couple more groups into the league here,
Yeah,
which is always nice. One of those groups is the VOC. That's led by Mika and Dan Frank. Um, Formerly, the VOC was known as the BH Coast. If you've seen them around in the NA events, they have since renamed to VOC. So we've added them. They're about 7 or 8 people and very good people. Like if you're going to the ex naval event in about just over 30 minutes, you will see them there. Very skilled players, often up on the scoreboards in these matches as mercs. And then also we have added the HLG, an old favorite from the first season. They were part of the Sea Wolves, I think. Yes, Sea Wolves, second place
that's
team
correct. That's
in
correct.
the preseason.
Yeah.
So we've gotten them back in here. Sabo Cheeses and a few of his folks. Actually, quite a few more have enlisted in this past week alone. We're
You guys
gonna
are going to
have
be huge. You
we
guys are
we
going to be
may
a
not need
massive
to
team.
require the charity of mercenaries too much anymore. So
Wow,
uh,
it's very
no,
exciting.
we'll
It's
we'll
very
see.
exciting.
And these teams are very well skilled players on both of them. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what we're going to do with the mercenaries next week, because the Krakens always come with like 30 people. You guys are going to come with huge teams. I mean, you're going to have a lot of extra bodies if you want them, and so maybe that's going to change the dynamics of how these battles play out. Maybe we're going to find that there are going to be some more boarding actions, or maybe
we'll see. Yeah.
rowboats, and who knows. Anyway, it's going to be
I
a
can
very
tell
exciting
you right
matchup.
now that our strategy of using mercenaries for the smaller boats is going to shift a little bit. There's going to be a bit more thinking behind that. So yeah, you're going to see a different type of SCP-38 gameplay next week.
Well, we're very excited to see it. So, folks, tune in next week, same time, same place, to watch the SCP-38s fight the Krakens in Week 15. With that, It has been wonderful to be with you all this afternoon or this evening or whatever it is now for whoever it is out there. And we've enjoyed it very much. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.